Shabbat. Charnia Bat Lipman. And we're learning Tanya Igeres Hakodesh Epistle 13 for the 14th day of Elul. And today we're going to discuss God's abundant kindness is in store, not only for the individual whose character is likewise expensive, but also for God-fearing who is more introverted. So remember, we discussed yesterday the two types of individuals, the expensive type and the introverted type. And he says, Marav Tuvcho, the abundance, the goodness of God, the kindness of God is not only stored for the one that is expensive and is doing everything in a broad type of a way, but also God's benevolence and God's kindness is in store or stored away for those who serve Hashem in a more of a rigid type of relationship, the introverted type. This is the statement of David HaMelech, who says, Marav Tuvcho, how abundant is your goodness, which you have hidden away for those who fear you. Klema, what does it mean? That the attribute of goodness and chesed, which is in a state of concealment and hiding within those whose soul root derives from the left. If your soul derives, then your chesed is hidden, right? You can't see it. What we see is gevur, and that's why they are called Yere'echo, those who fear you. Kemidas Beis Shammai, Anika b'shmirecha, like Beis Shammai, resembling the trait of Beis Shammai, that they were very stringent, very strict. In Avshu Teva Gonus Vitzofen, although it says it's concealed and hidden goodness beneath a dominant surface of gevur, meaning what I see on the exterior is gevur. There's hidden chesed inside. But nevertheless, truly as abundant and immense of gedula and chesed which is of the right. So although the element of chesed within those described as those that fear you is concealed, for the soul root derives essentially from gevur, it is latent within them just as abundantly as it is found within those who are essentially of the right. So that goes back to the same point that we said in the beginning, that the chesed is stored for both types. So to speak, also we can say the reward is stored for both sides. Because the truth is that the expensive guy is acting this way not because he worked on himself, he's acting this way because that's his nature. And the guy that is very introverted and limiting, he's acting this way because that's his nature. So instead of fearing the bank or fearing Hashem, and the guy that is expensive, instead of being grandiose and spending in a restaurant, he spends more time in learning, is expensive in other things, even tzedakah and things like that. So they both have hidden, stored away goodness and we can say abundant that is in stored for them. Moreover, both degrees of chesed, that which is dominant in the souls deriving from the right, as well as that incorporate, are manifest without limit, measure, or dimension. David HaMelech is using the expression of Rav Tuvcha, which means how abundant is your goodness, which means without any kind of limitations. Bli gvul umida applies in both cases without limit and measure. Whether it is to be goodness which you have hidden away for those who fear you, or that which you have wrought for those who trust in you. Referring to the trusting ones who derive from the right. So, being someone that trusts Hashem, and for example, giving a lot of tzedakah, you have to trust Hashem that you won't lack anything. You have bitachon, right? It says a person trusts his beloved friend to act in his best interest. In the same way, those whose soul stems from the right and who serve God with chesed and love, place their trust in Him. They invest in Hashem. They put their trust in Hashem. And whose kindness and goodness are also in a state of manifestation, meaning you see it, it's a revealed way, and expansiveness before the sight of men. And by no means in a state of contraction and concealment. We can now understand why the pasuk says, the verse begins by saying, Tzofanto liriecha, hidden away for those who fear you, and concludes with the manifest state of before men. The verse is alluding to two forms of chesed, in its concealed state, as possessed by those who fear you, and in the revealed state, as possessed by those who trust in you. Those who trust Hashem, you see it. Those who fear Hashem, it's hidden. The chesed is hidden. The reason that it says it with a lamed, li for those who fear you, and it rather than saying in those who fear you, what's the difference? For those who fear you, or in those who fear you. For those or in those. Li re'echo or bi re'echo. Why is it specifically written li re'echo? So he writes, Ainu mishum shekol mashu v'china selem b'chol neshama. That whatever is in a state of concealment within any soul, that level is not vested within the body, in the individual mind and heart, for they are incapable of receiving it. So if it's concealed in your neshama, you're not going to see it in your body because you can't see it. It's hidden. It's not vested in your body. Ella, so what happens? Rather, it encompasses the individual from above, so to speak. And from there, it radiates to his mind and heart at those times which require an arousal of the attribute in question. So if you are dominated by chesed, Gevurah is hidden. When are you going to be able to use Gevurah? Because Gevurah is hovering now. It's not directly invested in you. He says it will be aroused in the time that you need it. From there, it radiates to his mind and heart at those times, which require an arousal of the attribute in question. So that it will be aroused and will illumine his mind and heart in order to result in actual deeds. So meaning I cannot do anything unless my neshama is already inclined for this. Right? Neshama has to be inclined toward chesed, you'll do chesed. If not, then you probably won't do Gevurah until those times where it's really required and needed, you'll be having this arousal. For example, a person who's charitable and the person that his charitable contributions are very limited. Okay, he's very calculated. What he gives, how much he gives, when he gives. Will have revealed to him the concealed and infinite attribute of chesed, which will prompt him to give tzedakah unstingently. Meaning that for that individual, that his tzedakah is limited, in order for it to be unlimited, he has to have a special arousal from above. But the guy who's originated from chesed, he doesn't need the arousal from above. That's his nature already. It's natural to him. We're using this expression for people that maybe didn't do something and now they're trying a sport, and suddenly they find out that they're good in it. So what? They're natural. So a guy that is charitable, always charitable, in an expensive way, he gives. He doesn't need an arousal from above for this. It's natural. It's nature for him. But the guy that is stingy, over here uses the word. A person whose charitable contributions are customarily limited will have revealed to him the concealed and infinite attribute of chesed, which will prompt him to give tzedakah unstingently. Right? So he has to have a special arousal now from above, special calling to create this extra giving, not to give in a stingy way. Ve'amar al Kain, and David HaMelech says this, respond to this, Asher Rav Tur Leveis Yisrael, which means abundance of goodness of the house of Israel, Hatzofun V'agoli, the both levels, the concealed and the revealed, Ubechinat Bli Gvul Mida Lefiach Nafshes Melbosh Begufam, that which is hidden and that which is manifest, which is revealed, is, so to speak, without limit and measure, relative to the category of the soul vested in the body. What is he saying is the kindness of a finite creature is by definition limited. Which means, since we are finite, so the kindness that we can receive by definition is finite also, is limited. How much can you take? Let's say you like steak. How much steaks you can eat? It's finite, it's limited. Fine, I'll give you another 5. Okay, handle it. Now what? 10? You can't.
No, please.
So how much can a finite being handle? By definition, the kindness that comes to a person, if Hashem gives you, I'll give you an example, not personally, but in general, if Hashem gives you $5 million, you can handle, let's say you can handle it. So he did chesed with you. But if he gives you $5 billion and it blows you up, he did gevurah because you can't handle it. If somebody can't handle it, you didn't help him. You did the opposite of help. So, but is that it's since you are finite, kindness is also going to be limited. So he says like this: the kindness of a finite creature is by definition limited. However, it may be termed infinite in relation to the soul vested in the body. Why would I still call it infinite? Because in relation to the amount of the soul vested in the body, it's considered infinite. For example, to you, finite amount is 1 million, let's say. But if I give you 100 million, to you it's infinite number, but it's in your mind, in your capacity, 100 million is infinite, because your limitation is up to 1 million. Jump to 100 million, to 1 billion, it's already infinite. It's unlimited.
But let me ask you a question. When you receive this infinite chesed, let's call it that way.
Infinite.
No. Yeah, like the example of Rob was saying with the 100 million. Hashem is giving it to you because you know the resources, where to direct them. Maybe you don't have the capacity; it's too much for you. But maybe you know the right people.
No, but that's part. If you can direct it to different sources, that means that you handle it. Yeah. No, obviously, but that means you can handle it.
Yeah.
So it's within your capacity.
Yes.
But if you went to the casino and you blew it away, that's not within your. Within you, that means you're capable. And if you didn't use it the right way, that means you had a free choice how to use it, but you chose to use it in the casino, right? So over here it says the kindness of a finite creature is by definition limited. However, it may be termed infinite. Why am I calling it infinite? In relation to the soul vested in the body. Lochen, therefore, you too, O God, relate to them with the attribute of your unlimited and infinitely great chesed, which is the level known as gedula, which we say in prayer, Lecha Hashem ha-gedula, greatness, and which is called Rav Chesed. Another terminology to gedula is the abundant of chesed. The chesed of Arich Hanpin, which is in Kabbalistic terminology, Arich Hanpin is associated with the exterior level of Keter, of the crown, the long face, that utterly transcends the lesser chesed of Zeir Anpin. So we're going from being in the, instead of riding the small waves, you're riding now the big waves. You're in the higher league right now. Going from chesed of Zeir Anpin, meaning chesed that is associated with the emotive attribute, you're jumping to a chesed that even surpasses intellect goes straight into Keter, goes straight to the crown directly. The Chesed of Archanpin that utterly transcends the lesser Chesed of Zeir Anpin, from which the worlds evolve by means of Seder Ishtalshelus. So you're surpassing, or you're bypassing the entire order of the world. The Chesed v'Chesed, and it says there are two types of Chesed. There is Chesed, and there is far higher form of Chesed, It Chesed Olam. There is one level of Chesed, it's called worldly Chesed, Chesed of the world, world-like Chesed, which is a finite level of kindness of Chesed. And that's the tricky part of this Chesed, that the opposite of it is the attribute of judgment, Gevurah. That as an opposite counterpart, the attribute of Din, of severe justice, heaven forfend. Meaning, you deserve Chesed, Hashem wants to give it to you, but since opposite of it is the attribute of Din, so they say, oh, he deserves it, he doesn't deserve it, he deserves less, he deserves it maybe tomorrow, not today, delaying it, minimizing it, holding it back. That's Chesed Olam. But if you can tap into a high level of Chesed, Chesed Elyon, imagine we tap into a level of Chesed that is like a gushing river. That even if you put a partition or a wall, is going to break it through, and ultimately will even gush, the current will be even stronger. Aval Chesed el Nikra Rav Chesed, the superior form of Chesed. However, which is called the Rav Chesed, Ein Kenegdo Midas Adin, the attribute of justice cannot handle this type of Chesed, cannot stop it. God forbid to minimize it, to contract it, from disseminating, from going out there, to contract the abundance of God's benevolence, from extending without limit and end. Why? Why it's unstoppable Chesed? Chesed Elyon, the supernal Chesed. Because it's coming from a higher source. If it's coming from the level that encompasses all the worlds, Soivev Makif, the level that does not have to be vested in the world, is not limited by the world in any way, then it's not stoppable. Or he calls it Temira Dechol Temirin, which is the hidden, even from all the hidden worlds. Anika Keter Elyon, which is called also Keter Elyon, the supernal crown, the utterly transcendent level of divinity known as Keter. V'zeu shekosu, and this is the meaning of the verse in Tehillim. Tastirim, chapter 31, Tastirim v'seder ponechot itzpaneim besuko. This then is the meaning of opening quotation, and which continues to speak of those who fear you and those who trust in you. Remember, those who fear you are Gevurah, those who trust in you are Chesed. Hide them, this is the request of David HaMelech, of King David. He says, hide them in the concealment of your innermost dimension. As explained above, panim denotes both countenance and inwardness. You see the face, and that also means the face can also tell you how the person feels. Is he happy? Is he not? Conceal them in a sukkah, which means in the sublime level of Chesed, which deriving from the above mentioned level of Keter, transcends Seder Ishtalshelus, transcends the order of degradation, and will encompass them like a sukkah, sovev, surround you like a sukkah. So since it does not have to be vested in you, it's not limited to you. If I have to go exactly to your level, intellectual, physical, whatever it is, and then it's going to be very limited. But if it surrounds you like a sukkah, then it takes you. Then nothing will stop it.
The air blowing
so,
in the room.
Yeah, God's infinite, and this is a takeaway from today's Tanya, says God's infinite goodness is designated to be revealed to the man who places his trust in him. And the Rebbe said it many times. There's a famous sikha, it's called V'yisalcho b'rechova. The Rebbe speaks about walking in broadness, and he's not just walking wobbly. It means walk in broadness that your emotional state, intellectual state, behavioral state, your attitude should be in a broad type of a way. What we say in English, think big.
Why?
Think big.
Yeah.
So it has to be in everything. In Torah, it says that every Jew is capable of attaining wealth, spiritual wealth, physical wealth. All we have to do is have trust in Hashem. So if you have bitochen, and the Rebbe directed a lot of Beinu Bachya in duties of the heart, the gate of trust, and the Rebbe wrote to somebody, more trust equals more parnasa. So that's really the bottom line of the whole thing.
I have a question. You said that everybody comes with a nature.
Yes.
Or Chesed or Gevura. But I understand also that ignorance makes you fear. Wisdom makes you trust. Because you understand Hashem's way, right?
It can work
so
the other way
when you learn
too.
Torah, you feel more confident, you trust Hashem, whatever happens. When you're ignorant and you're not learning, you are fearful because you don't understand.
Ignorance is bliss.
So that nature can be changed by learning Torah, the fearful.
No, so we know that it says in Tanya, you cannot change your midot. You can refine them,
You have to work on it.
but you can refine them to make it more gentle, more pure. But you cannot. If you were born a hot-blooded person, you'll always be hot-blooded. So you can use it either to be angry at people, or you can be. It's like someone that wrote to the Rebbe that his teacher is beating him up. So the Rebbe wrote to the principal to fire the teacher. So he said, "Where is he going to go to work? That's his parnasa." The Rebbe wrote to let him be a sheikhet. Be a sheikhet, because that's his. So you can channel it to a different place.
And if you go to the right place,
So-
doesn't hurt nobody else.
Yeah, he channels it different, and he still. The Rebbe said, "Oh, change the person."
No.
Change who he is. You know what? You're an angry man. Now, don't be an angry man. Obviously, a person, but he knows that this guy, that's his thing. He needs to direct it to that place, because you're not going to change him. You're not going to change him completely. You can refine it. So, meaning, if you're as I give you an example about, say a guy, alcoholic, right? So he's now 30 years without, he didn't touch the bottle. 30 years.
He's got a 30-year chip.
So he sees, he walks away with his son one day, and they see a guy drowning in his throw up, and he vomited. He's like in a puddle of throw up, and he's disgusting.
Too much.
And he walks with his son, the once upon a time alcoholic,
He's jealous of him.
and he says to him. And he says to him, the son tells father, "Look at this guy. See, you're lucky that you were able to stop."
And he's jealous of him.
So the alcoholic, 30 years, didn't touch about it. He said he's jealous of this guy. He's envious of him. Because really, what does it mean? What does Torah tells you? That the nature of that person was not changed. He still wants
He
it.
just suppressed.
But he was able to suppress it. He was able to push it away, to refine it. Say, okay, I like it. This is my weakness, but I'll work on it. But it's always going to be his challenge.
It's always
Very few people are able to completely. It's like,
destroy.
how many people can say? How many people can say today that, for example, somebody stopped smoking? Okay, stop smoking. If the doctor comes to him, God forbid, the doctor tells that person he has a month to live. He has a month to live. Would he be smoking on that month or not? If he doesn't smoke on that month, it shows that he really got over it. But if he smokes on that month, it's still there.
Let's have that example. What about this hypnosis that people get, that they really
Hypnosis.
don't feel the attraction for smoking? This hypnosis that
Sometimes
people
it
do to
works.
stop.
Sometimes it helps
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
They need the push.
I heard that people.
Yeah, it works.
Maybe it truly was not
Power
their challenge. They just kind of drifted into it, but it wasn't in their blood that they have to do that.
Like a gambler. The guy who's gambling all the time. Somebody can't stop. It's always in his blood to